Hi, I'm Amy. For 29 years, I believed family meant something. Working alongside my brother Jack at our father's construction company taught me the value of hard work and loyalty. Or so I thought. You're early again, Dad said, his weathered hands wrapped around his coffee mug as I entered the office kitchen. Jack's not even in the state yet. Someone has to review the Henderson contract before the meeting, I replied, pouring myself coffee. Jack promised he'd handle it last week. Dad's expression softened. Your brother has a lot on his mind. The resort development in Colorado was his idea, not company priority, I finished, leaning against the counter. Dad, I've been covering for him for months. The team notices. Amy, sweetheart, Dad said, his tone shifting to that special voice he reserved for lectures. Family businesses are complicated. Jack has vision, and I have the accounting degree and contractor's license that keep us afloat, I interrupted. Sorry, but I'm tired. Melissa, our office manager and my closest friend, poked her head in. Staff meeting in 5. The Henderson clients are already in the conference room. What? They're an hour early, I exclaimed, nearly spilling my coffee. Jack rescheduled yesterday, Melissa whispered. Didn't he tell you? Dad patted my shoulder. See? Jack handles things his way. 2 hours later, I was seething in my office when Melissa entered, closing the door behind her. You won't believe what I just heard, she said, perching on my desk. Your dad called an emergency board meeting for tomorrow. Partners only. My stomach tightened. That's just Dad and Jack. I'm still classified as an employee despite doing twice the work. There's more, Melissa continued, lowering her voice. I overheard Jack on the phone with his buddy Ryan from legal. They're restructuring the company. What does that mean? I asked, although something in her expression already told me. Amy, they're discussing retirement packages. Your dad's stepping down. He's only 62. And apparently giving controlling interest to Jack, Melissa finished. Ryan was discussing transferring the company house and liquidating certain assets for transition capital. I sat back, stunned. The company house? I've been renting an apartment to save for a down payment while Jack gets our family property? It gets worse, Melissa said, sliding a folder across my desk. These were in the copy machine. Transfer papers for your dad's personal accounts. He's cleaning them out, over $2 million, and putting everything in Jack's name. That's Dad's retirement fund. He can't possibly. He already signed the preliminary paperwork, Melissa confirmed. Amy, I'm sorry, but I think they're cutting you out completely. The next morning, I confronted my father in his office before the meeting. We'd always been close, or so I thought. Is it true? I demanded. You're giving everything to Jack? The company, the house, your savings? Dad couldn't meet my eyes. Amy, you need to understand. Understand what? That the daughter who stayed, who built this business alongside you for 7 years, means nothing? Your brother has big plans? The Colorado development could triple our worth? Or bankrupt us? Have you even seen the market research? I've been telling you both for months it's too risky. Dad finally looked at me, his expression hardening. Your brother deserves it. He's a visionary, Amy. You've always been reliable. That word. Reliable. Like I was a used car, not his daughter. Dad, please, I pleaded. At least keep your personal savings separate. The decision's made, he said firmly. The papers are signed. 4 weeks later, Melissa called me at 3 a.m. Amy, her voice trembled. Jack lost everything. The Colorado deal collapsed. He used the company as collateral and your dad's money as a deposit. It's all gone. What do you mean gone? I asked, my voice echoing in my empty apartment. Sleep evaporated instantly as Melissa's words sank in. The development was a scam, Melissa explained, papers rustling on her end. Jack never had the permits he claimed. The investors backed out when they discovered the land wasn't properly zoned, but he'd already paid the deposit. Non-refundable. I pinched the bridge of my nose. And the company? The bank is calling in the loans today. They've frozen all accounts. 6 hours later, I sat across from Thomas Geller, my father's oldest friend and the company's financial advisor. His office felt colder than usual. I tried to warn Richard, Thomas said, sliding financial statements across his desk. Jack's been falsifying reports for months. These are the real numbers. I scanned the documents, my blood running cold. He's been embezzling? For how long? At least a year, Thomas replied, removing his glasses. Small amounts at first, then larger sums as your father gave him more control. Why didn't you tell me? Or Dad? Thomas leaned forward. I did tell your father. 3 months ago. He refused to believe it. Said I was jealous of Jack's success. That doesn't sound like Dad, I whispered. Richard hasn't been himself since your mother died, Thomas sighed. He's been desperate to see your brother succeed, to carry on the family name. At my expense? Amy, I've known you since you were knee-high. You've always been the backbone of that company. That's why I called you here. He slid another folder toward me. These are records of every transaction Jack has made. Bank transfers, property deals, shell companies. Why would you keep these? Because I knew this day would come, Thomas said simply. And because what he's done isn't just unethical, it's criminal. Later that afternoon, I met with Sarah Chen, a corporate attorney recommended by Thomas. This is extensive, Sarah said, scanning the documents. Securities fraud, wire fraud, tax evasion. Your brother's looking at serious charges. What about my father? I asked. He signed everything over willingly. Sarah adjusted her glasses. Based on these records, there's a strong case for elder financial abuse, especially if we can prove Jack manipulated your father. Dad wouldn't see it that way, I said. He believes in Jack completely. Has your father contacted you since the collapse? I shook my head. Radio silence. Both of them. Sarah frowned. That's concerning. Where is your father now? Still at the family house, I assume. Jack moved in there last month. We should check on him, Sarah suggested. Emotional manipulation often accompanies financial abuse. When we arrived at my childhood home, we found my father sitting alone in the dark. The house was eerily quiet. Dad? I called softly. He looked up, his face haggard. Amy, what are you doing here? Checking on you. Where's Jack? Gone, Dad replied, his voice hollow. Packed a bag yesterday and disappeared. Have you eaten? I asked, noticing dirty dishes piled in the sink. Dad shrugged. Not hungry. I introduced Sarah, explaining she was an attorney helping me understand the situation. There's nothing to understand, Dad snapped. Your brother made a mistake. He'll fix it. Dad, the company is bankrupt, I said gently. Your savings are gone. This house has a lien against it. These aren't mistakes. They're crimes. You've always been jealous of your brother's success, Dad shouted, suddenly angry. What success? I challenged. Name one project Jack completed successfully without me fixing his mistakes. Dad fell silent, staring at his hands. Mr. Harper, Sarah interjected softly. We have evidence suggesting your son may have manipulated you into signing over your assets. That's ridiculous, Dad muttered, but his voice lacked conviction. My phone buzzed, a text from Melissa. Found Jack. He's at Ryan's lake house, trying to liquidate remaining assets. I showed my father the message, watching his face crumple as reality finally began to sink in. Your brother deserves it, I said, echoing his words back to him. Isn't that what you told me, Dad? The drive to Ryan's lake house took 40 minutes. Dad sat silently beside me, staring out the window. He'll have an explanation, Dad muttered. Jack always has a plan. That's the problem, I replied. His plans destroyed our family business, your retirement, and nearly 30 employees' livelihoods. Dad turned, his eyes watery. I just wanted him to succeed where I couldn't, to build something bigger. We were already building it together, Dad. The company was thriving before you handed him control. At the modern glass lake house, we found Jack and Ryan surrounded by papers. Jack jumped up when he saw us. Amy? Dad? What are you doing here? His voice held more irritation than guilt. Ryan gathered papers quickly. This is a private meeting. You need to leave. Sarah stepped forward. Ryan Matthews, I presume? I'm Sarah Chen, counsel for Amy Harper. I believe you're discussing assets currently subject to investigation for fraudulent transfer. What is she talking about? Jack demanded. Dad, why did you bring a lawyer? I found the evidence, I said. The embezzlement, the fake permits, the shell companies. You're being dramatic, Jack scoffed. We had a business setback. A setback? You lost everything. The company Dad built for 30 years, his entire retirement, our family home. I can fix this, Jack shouted. I just need time to what? Steal more? I interrupted. There's nothing left to take. Dad finally spoke, his voice small. Is it true, Jack? The permits were fake? Jack's expression shifted to calculation. Dad, listen. There were some regulatory hurdles, but the opportunity was real. If those investors hadn't gotten cold feet, they didn't get cold feet, I cut in. They discovered you were lying. Thomas showed me everything. Thomas has always had it out for me, Jack snarled. Sarah placed her briefcase on the table. We've already spoken with the DA's office. They're quite interested in the paper trail. Jack's face paled. You went to the authorities? Dad, are you letting her do this? Dad stood straighter. Did you fake those permits, Jack? Jack's silence answered for him. I trusted you, Dad continued, voice breaking. I gave you everything. Dad, I'm sorry, Jack said, suddenly contrite. I got in over my head. I was trying to protect our legacy. By committing fraud? I asked incredulously. Amy, please. Jack turned to me, eyes pleading. Sometimes you have to bend the rules. Help me explain to Dad. We can still salvage something. There's nothing to salvage. The company is gone. Dad's retirement is gone. 30 people are out of work. I said I'm sorry, Jack shouted, slamming his fist down. What more do you want? I want justice, I replied calmly. For Dad, for our employees, for myself. Jack's expression darkened. You've always been jealous. Little Miss Perfect making me look bad. This is your fault. If you'd supported me... That's enough, Dad thundered. Don't you dare blame your sister for your mistakes. Jack pointed accusingly at Dad. You chose her over me, after everything I've done to make you proud. Don't touch him, I warned, stepping between them. Jack grabbed my arm, his grip painful. Stay out of this. Let her go, Dad demanded. Jack shoved me hard. I stumbled backward, knocking into the table. You're ruining everything, Jack shouted, advancing again. The sheriff's deputies Sarah had called entered just then. Perfect timing, Sarah said. I believe we just witnessed assault to add to the charges. Jack lunged for the back door, but a deputy caught him. As they read him his rights, Jack's face contorted with rage. This isn't over, Amy. Dad, tell them this is a misunderstanding. Dad just turned away, looking suddenly older than his years. The county courthouse buzzed with activity that Tuesday morning. 9 months had passed since the confrontation at the lake house. 9 months of depositions and rebuilding shattered lives. Nervous? Melissa asked as we waited outside the courtroom. Oddly calm, I replied. I just want it finished. Dad sat nearby with Thomas. He'd aged years and months, but therapy had helped him recognize the manipulation he'd endured. Sarah approached with her briefcase. The DA confirmed the plea deal. Jack's accepting all charges, wire fraud, embezzlement, securities fraud, and assault. 5 years minimum, full restitution. Will it be enough? I asked. The money's gone. The court is freezing all his remaining assets, Sarah explained, and the insurance settlement will help. It's not everything, but it's something. Inside, Jack sat beside his new attorney. Ryan had abandoned him months ago, cutting a separate deal. Jack's expression hardened when he saw me. When asked for his plea, Jack stood with slumped shoulders. Guilty, Your Honor, he said, voice hollow. The judge outlined the terms and sentencing guidelines, then asked if anyone wished to make a victim impact statement. Dad declined. I stepped forward. Jack, I've rehearsed this speech 100 times, I said, looking directly at him. I wanted to tell you how deeply you hurt us. How you destroyed not just our family business, but our trust. But standing here now, I realize there's only one thing that matters. I paused, meeting his gaze. I will rebuild everything you destroyed. Better than before. As deputies led him away, Jack called out, Amy, please, we're still family. You can't just throw that away. I remained silent. There was nothing left to say. Outside, reporters gathered. Dad surprised me by stepping forward. My daughter is rebuilding our company, he announced, voice stronger than in months. Harper Construction has a new leadership team with Amy as CEO. We've already rehired most employees and secured new contracts. That's all. 2 weeks later, I sat in my new office, my father's old one, reviewing applications. Melissa knocked and entered. The bank approved the loan for the new office space, she reported, smiling. Good. Schedule the closing, I replied. How's the Henderson project? On schedule and under budget. Your father's waiting with the design team. I gathered my files. Tell him I'll be right there. As I walked through our smaller but energetic office, I passed the company mission statement I'd installed. Built on integrity, focused on family. That evening, Dad and I watched the sunset from his new condo porch. The company house had been sold to pay creditors. I got a letter from Jack today, Dad said quietly. He wants to see me. Are you going? I asked, keeping my voice neutral. Dad shook his head. Not yet. Maybe someday. He looked at me, eyes clear. When I told you your brother deserves it, I never imagined it would end like this. Neither did I admitted, but he made his choices. And you made yours, Dad said, squeezing my hand. Thank you for not giving up on me, even when I gave up on you. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but for now, this moment was enough. Sometimes, justice is its own form of forgiveness. What would you have done? Would you have pursued legal action against a family member who betrayed you, or sought another path?